There's an art to being an assassin. This is your look at the upcoming release of the Pure Arts Assassin's Creed Animus Ezio 1/4 scale statue. Pure Arts is proud to present Animus Ezio, the latest 1/4 scale statue to complete the Assassin's Creed Animus collection. Bring home Ezio Auditore as he majestically materializes from the iconic Santa Maria del Fiore with blades at the ready. Add the ambiance of the white LED lights incorporated into the Animus Effects located behind Ezio. Before we get down to looking at the statue, I figured it would be probably a good idea to break it down by its components and show you the intricacies that are involved with putting it together. There's a lot of steps involved, a lot of pieces that come with this statue. In many cases, it's an order game. You have to put some pieces in first before you can put other things in, and a lot of times you're going to see overlapping of pieces. So this part of the review, I'm sort of just going to break things down, show you how everything gets put together before we get a closer look at the statue itself. Very, very carefully, I want to just tip the statue base up so that you guys can see what the underside looks like. Not only are you treated to 6 rubberized feet to prevent scratching on surfaces, but you're also treated to some really nice artwork here of also Ezio. Assassin's Creed 2 Animus Ezio. This is a limited release number out of Pure Arts with a very limited worldwide release of only 2,500 pieces worldwide. This one, the one that we're having a look at in this review, kindly provided by Pure Arts, is number 139 out of the 2,500 released globally. In lieu of knowing I would have to be rotating the statue to be able to show you guys, after all, the details all on this piece, I took the liberty of taking and buying myself a larger turntable, just so I would also be able to spin this around, show you guys, like I said, all the details on the piece. Speaking of details, one nice touch that Pure Arts added to this particular statue of Ezio is also a corresponding number, the same number that was on the bottom of the base, still telling us it's 139 out of the 2,500. It's currently inside a little baggie. I'm just taking the liberty right now of not removing it just because I didn't want to lose it. But it's nice. It's kind of got like a blood splatter shape to it. And like I said, it's magnetized. What it does is just, there's a little magnet. I'm not sure if you can actually see it or not. There's a magnet right there. And this just attaches just to the back of it. I like little touches like that. Spin the base around. On the back, there's a battery compartment right here. We can go ahead and remove that. There's one good thing about this is there's no screws required, so you don't need a screwdriver initially when you want to add the batteries. This is what the back of the plate looks like. Basically just slides in on the back tab here, and then just very securely stays in place. You are treated to 6 AA battery slots. I've already taken the liberty as well of buying some batteries, so we can go ahead and put those in place. I won't bore you with having to add every single battery, but basically you're just going to put in 6 AA batteries, and then you can go ahead and display it with the light up option, which I'll show you guys in a second as well as I continue to put the remaining batteries in. Not sure if you can even see it already. Just only on the 3 batteries that I've installed, keeping in mind again I have to add another 3, you can see where all those ports will be lit up on the base itself. Now, keeping in mind as well, when we're starting to add the things onto it is really where you're going to see the light up magic happening. So the big first piece that we're going to focus our efforts on is the back here of the cathedral window. As you can see, this will attach in place, and this has prongs that will connect to the prongs on the inside of that slot. Once that's slid into place, this actually marks the largest, like I said, of the pieces that you have to put in place before you really want to start adding everything else. I just want to show you guys even like the detailing done to just this part of the statue alone. All the nice dry brushing that they added to the base here. The coloring, as you can see, is more so like this kind of creamy beige, but by also adding the dry brushing of brown is really where you get a lot of the contoured texturings really stand out. It's a really nice looking part. Now again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt this around like so. As you can see, it's finished actually on both sides. And I'm going to slide this into the back groove just like that. While I'm doing that, I want to, of course, make sure that this is out of the way. And that's sort of the majority of the larger pieces. Technically, Ezio is going to be a large piece as well. I generally like to put him in last, and then from there we're going to basically start adding on the extra secondary pieces before we complete a rather substantially large statue. The next piece we really want to add is this part right here, which would be basically this part right here. I'm sort of having to do this with holding my camera. I'm going to go ahead and take this. This will slide into place like so. And just takes a little bit of wiggling to get everything to line up. There we go. And it finishes and seals off that crack. Now there are again a couple of things that you also have to add. There's one piece right there that has required a peg. That's going to slide into place. But then there's also a center section right here. I would advise probably going ahead and doing that next. Again, you get a chance to see all the detailing that they've done to the center portion of this window opening. And there's a little hole, not sure if you can see it, right there on the underside. That hole is going to go right there onto the peg. Now, as I said, this is a thing where you'd want to do it in different steps. This piece probably makes more sense to put in first, because the next piece, as you'll see, will require to be put sort of overlapping it. From there, we're going to go ahead and take the piece, line it up to the hole, and very carefully slide it down. Now, right here, you can probably see we had put this piece in first. If we had put this one in first, it would have been really difficult to then get that into the groove. So it would have made much more sense to do this step first, followed by the center section of the window as well. Then the next step that you're going to want to do is take this top part of the window. And it's going to be slid into place, and it's going to line up right to that peg point right there. Reasoning why you'll want to do this next is because if you had put this part in, you would have then had to worry about getting the center section of the statue wedged in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part here, slide it down into the post, just like so. Probably would have not helped me to do this on a turntable currently, but just enough that you can see it. And as you can see, this now overlaps. You now sort of can see why it would have been difficult to get this part in first or second after this piece right here. And pretty much like that, the majority of the back of the display base, the section, of course, that Ezio is going to be standing in front of, is already complete. Now we sort of just have to add all the extra components, the little side decorative pieces to the side of the statue. Before I go ahead and add those extra pieces, I just want to spin this around, showing you guys again what the back of this looks like. Even as so much so for the fact that it being the back of the statue, how much detailing the Pure Arts actually put into this. One thing I didn't do though properly is at the bottom of the base, I'll just tip there we go, I'll just tip that down slightly. I didn't actually have this part pushed far enough down into the base. The resulting of that was that the bottom of the base didn't light up then the rest of the cathedral backdrop. Now that I've fixed and corrected it, you can see here that the lights do light up here on the back section. Don't worry, we'll do some closer looks at it in a second. Let's go ahead and finish up the rest of the main base before we go ahead and put Ezio down on it. There's two different ways that you can go next. You can either go ahead and put the Animus Effects into the side supplied peg holes located on the side of the base, or you can go ahead and add Ezio. I prefer to actually add Ezio first. And the only reasoning for that is because I feel once I start putting the Animus Effects located on the side of the base, I run the risk then of clipping them when I go ahead and put him in. So I really like to go ahead and do that first. There's a peg located on the bottom of his foot, and then this is the front of his boot that's actually going to sit just on top of that ledge. I'm going to very carefully slide Ezio into the hole. There we go. And I'm just going to wiggle and kind of shimmy his body down until he's firmly in place. I'll show you closer what I just did, but I find like that's the smarter route to go. If you do then go ahead and add the Animus Effects first, I always feel again like when you're putting Ezio down on the base, you could run the risk of clipping these, and I certainly don't want to get these damaged. So let me go ahead and show you what I've done here. Ezio attaches by only one peg hole located near the further back section of the display base. It's more than enough to keep him actually at bay, and there's not really any wiggling when you put him down. He also does have the front of the podium sort of stabilizing the rest of the character. So again, when you put him in place, when we finally get a whole look at him, minus of course currently his arms, he's not going to be going anywhere. Now I go the route of doing this first, only because there's these holes located on the side of the base. These are the things that are going to hold the Animus effects. The problem with doing these first is that when you then go ahead and put Ezio down, you sort of have to kind of get him behind it. And through that, there's always the risk that these could potentially break. These are very nicely done in a translucent resin, but sort of when you look at them, they kind of come across more like crystallized sugar. They're exquisite to look at, and they are all uniquely shaped. So when you are putting them down into the base, there's only certain places where you can actually put them. He has 3 on the front with 1 light beam behind it, and then he has 2 posts or 2 openings on the back section of the statue that are then going to illuminate the Animus effects when you slide them in. But again, going back to the idea that they are uniquely shaped, there is only one way that they can actually slide in place. This one, for example, does slide to the front. Now, you may find it's a lot easier to do this as one of the later steps, because then you may want to address these ones first. So again, just sort of look at the shape, figure out which ones then go in based on that shape and that shape alone. Like this one here, for example, slides in right here. Neat thing that they've actually done, if I can get a close-up of it, there's this little opening right here, just where I can sort of run my finger in between. It actually has been contoured so that this part of it, if I can actually get the camera to focus here, there we go. This section right here actually fits inside that groove. You'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm just going to slide this down. And again, when you put these in, be very careful. Just sort of wiggle them in place. You sort of see what I'm talking about right here. They've been contoured. So not only are they unique by shape, but they're also unique by what they fit around. Really effective the way that they've transitioned that from the stone of the actual building face to then the Animus effects that stretch out from that. I really like the way that they've done that. Then we can go ahead and take the next shape. This one is an oval shape, and it's going to go right there. Again, very carefully slide that in down. And again, you can see how that fits right around that open section right there. And just again, now you got a nice light that's lighting up, only really technically the bottom, but we're going to go ahead and turn the lights off as well, so you guys can get a better idea of how this actually looks like when it's all illuminated. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of these. There are a couple little holes in the front that do, of course, need their supplied pieces. Then from there, we're going to get some closer looks at the statue itself. Actually, there was one last thing I wanted to mention when it came to these ones right here, especially this front section. While the back ones weren't so much a concern of how you had to put them in certain order, these are ones definitely that you're going to want to do in different sequence. This one you'll want to do first, followed by this one, followed by this one. You'll see what I mean in a second. I'm going to go ahead and take this part right here. This is going to slide sideways. And it actually, the neat thing about this one is when you attach it in place, just like that, it actually connects then to the Animus effect that was right next door to it. Really like the way that they've done that. But then when you add this piece, you'll see quickly how if you didn't do this in the right order, it would be very difficult to kind of get your hand in there to add this piece right here. And then once that's in place, then you can take the last one and just spin it sideways and fit this one in, just like so. Once that's all done, you have a really nice crystallized effect. But again, you sort of had to do these in steps, at least this area. The ones at the back aren't so much the issue. It's these ones right here that you really want to put in a proper order so that you can actually get them to overlap. And the end result is actually quite cool. Finally, we can focus some efforts looking at Ezio himself, but yes, you are correct. He is missing something himself. Of course, he can't be much of a sound assassin if he doesn't have arms to use. So, of course, that is the one last step that we have to do before the statue is actually considered done. This is the one hand that's going to go on this side of the body, and it's attached via magnets. Before we do that, though, I want to show you some of the closer looks at the detailing done here, complete with the hidden blade. The blade itself is fairly durable, but still, this would be one thing that you would want to be very careful not to clip. It's been very nicely painted, done in silver. I like the flesh tone also on Ezio's hand. Very nice on the fingernails here. The ruffled sleeve as well as the rings are all the nice added touches that really complete and finish off the statue. I love the silver work that they've also done here as well. Even like the gauntlet itself, the way it's wrapped around the back of his arm looks practical. And even like the leather here looks like it's a real leather material. Very nice work on Pure Arts' part. Like I said, it's magnetized, so all I really have to then do is put this into his arm. You're going to actually put it so the blade is facing forward. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, though we have to deal with a much larger appliance. Here we have a full sleeve. This is actually going to attach right into the socket of the shoulder. And again, before we do that, show you some of the closer details. I mean, look at the work that they've done on not only the actual leather cuff of the sleeve, but the sleeve itself. There is one little area that doesn't seem to make quite much sense. It kind of looks like it's a phone jack. I'll talk about a little bit about that in a second. But really nicely done here. Again, you've got the blade retracted out. Blades retracted out on both ends, actually. Very nicely painted, the darker color of that leather with slight brushings of a lighter, almost chocolate, milk chocolate brown. I really like the dirt that they've added to the sleeve as well, sort of given it an age to it. We're going to go ahead then and take the shoulder piece and slide it up into the joint. Just like that. When you get the proper angle in place, you sort of feel the magnet grab it and pull it in. Going back to that thing about that little socket joint, there's actually another piece that actually goes into that of the Animus Effect. It's the one unique shape from all the others. It actually attaches via magnets. So when you do get the statue for yourself, this piece will actually go on to Ezio. It won't go anywhere else on the rest of the actual base itself. This just attaches very securely via magnets, and it just fits just over top like that, and finishes off not only the statue, but covers over that opening as well. Just going back, though, to the arm, I'm going to go ahead and remove the effect just for 1 second. On the interior, it looks like it's supposed to house button cell batteries. Ironically enough, though, the description doesn't say that it requires button cell batteries. It says it requires AA batteries, which of course I supplied, and that allows the whole base to light up. So I'm guessing there probably is the option there to add additional batteries, which I'm guessing would only really be lighting up this effect and nothing else on the statue. One good thing is if you decide that you don't want this option to light up, here's, by the way, the little button that turns it on and off. Again, you can just simply take the effect and attach it over top of it, and you'd never even know it was there in the first place. With the statue now fully assembled, it gives me the opportunity to show you guys what it looks like on a full turnaround. And probably one of the reasonings why I had to make use of a larger turntable. I'm really impressed, I have to say, that Pure Arts would have finished the back section of the base. This is not something that you would have probably seen anyways, unless you put it in the middle of a room or someplace where people could walk all the way around it. As you will see here in a second, just as much of the detail has been done to the back of it as there was to the front. Maybe a little less paint on the back of it, but again, still pretty impressed the fact that they would have actually finished and put as much detailing on something that potentially may not even be seen in the first place. The statue stands a very towering 27.5 inches in height, and if you could believe it, it weighs 30 pounds. This is definitely a much larger statue that you're going to be putting on a display. It does require a lot more space on your part. And being the fact that they did take the time to finish the back section of the statue, more or less would encourage you guys, if you do get this one for yourself, put it somewhere where you would be able to walk around it, be able to see it from all different angles. There's definitely a lot of detail to be had on this particular statue. Obviously, you guys are going to want to see some of the closer details, so let's have a look at the portrait first of Ezio Auditore de Firenze. Very nicely painted on Pure Arts' part. As you can see, there's the eyes. They almost have like a real pale yellowing to them. I also like the fact that they added the stubble, the little scar there on the bottom area of his lip. Initially, I would have said it would have been nice if they could have painted a shadowing maybe across the eyes. But again, really, when you look at it, the hood itself would have done fine the job on its own. The fact it drapes down as much as it does, under the right lighting conditions, I feel would cast a natural shadow. And you really wouldn't have to do that with paint. As we continue a little bit further down, actually just before that, let's have a look at the hood itself. You sort of can see there's almost like a burlap texturing that they've done to it, stitched all together. He's got his necklace going on there. Two collars, one more the lighter kind of white color, but actually there's a whole bunch of additional wash that they've added to that as well. And then there's a lot of nice textured pattern work that they did on the outer collar. Of course, he's got his shoulder guard there. I want to draw your attention again talking about this. We mentioned it a little bit when we were looking at his hands, for example. But again, look at it. I mean, that is resin, and yet looking at it, it almost comes across like it's real leather. You can see the way it's been sashed to the side with the rope there, tied off to the end there. Very nice pattern work also on his shirt itself as we get down to the ruffled sleeves. Over again to the side, we have the Animus effect coming out from his hands, and of course the blades sticking out from the inner sections of his forearms. Nice paintwork done also to the sashed belt area with some additional detailing done in the silver there. I really like the way that that turned out. And we move a little bit further down, moving now into the area of the boots. I really don't know why I'm so impressed with the leather. I mean, that again, the fact that this is resin, really, when you think about it, and yet looking at it, it does actually resemble a real leather material. Again, you've got that Animus effect coming away from his body, both on the sides of his boots and also coming away from his feet as well. Just again, a pull up here so you guys can see everything that's going on. Such a great looking statue. Yes, it is a little bit bigger in size. Yes, it certainly would ask a lot more of you as a collector for a display piece. But certainly if you're a fan of Assassin's Creed, this is definitely one of the better ones I've seen. I want to go ahead and spin this statue around and show you guys the back of it. It's one of my favorite things about the statue. Like with the backdrop of the cathedral window, Ezio himself is also dematerializing with the Animus, as you can see right there. It's really effective the way that they've done this. I don't know whether they've actually used this translucent purple that sort of is the end result and simply then just painted over top of it with the color that they needed for the costume. But it's really neat the way that they start at the top there, sort of becomes pixelated. And as it gets a little bit further down from the costume is where it starts turning off into this purple color right here. I'm doing my best to really keep my finger out of this because I really don't want to distract or block any of the details, like I said, that they put into this. These are things that will be more problematic when it comes to the assembly of the statue, because there are these little thin pieces of resin, the more susceptible to breaking. And unlike the Animus that is attached to the base, these are all separate pieces. Everything that's on Ezio comes with Ezio, so you will want to be careful when you're attaching it in place. Just spin this around so you guys can see the other side of it. Probably not going to see it as much right here. But again, look at how much detailing that they put into the cape, that cloak that he has on the back section there. Again, the fact that they would have gone from that leather material right here, get more pixelated and disintegrated right here before transitioning off to the purple is really effective. The next thing I wanted to do was cut the lights so that you can see all the lights working. It's not a full light up effect. It's not going to light up the entire statue as a whole, but it's basically just going to pulsate through the Animus so that you can see that it will glow in certain areas. We'll get some closer details in a second. I just want to show you how it looks when you've got it fully rotating with the lights completely cut out. More so here on the left side of the statue is sort of where you can kind of see it. Kind of looks like crystallized coral, all glowing in different colors. Some of the colors kind of come across at times looking green, and other times in certain areas it sort of looks like it comes across like a coral orange. It's really, again, effective the way that they've done that, but cutting the lights off completely was more just to show you where those lights light up. By no stretch of the imagination will it light up the entire statue, just some elements of it. Stopping the turntable, I just want to show you guys some of the closer looks at the statue with the lights completely cut out. It's not nearly going to be enough to illuminate all the statue. In fact, only the lights light up some of the areas, like for example, there's a light at the bottom there. It's going to light the back section of Ezio's boots, while the majority of it, as you can see, is lighting up the Animus. As we spin it around again. I do like that it shines straight through the crystallization, so in some areas it comes across like a very light violet purple. The back sections of the cathedral, for example, I'll just spin this around and get in there without blinding you guys, comes across, especially near the bottom section there, a little bit more like an orangey color. Just really fantastic. Yes, it could have lit up a lot more, but what they've actually been able to incorporate to a statue that was already impressive by adding these additional lights is definitely a nice touch on Pure Arts' part. The last way I wanted to show you guys this statue is with the majority of my studio lights turned off and only the one right above it. This is a direct shining down light, and it really does give you that depth that maybe you're looking for if you want to pick up a statue like this for your own personal collection. Keeping in mind again that I've got all the lights still turned on to the base. Those haven't turned off, but just how having one light source shining down, do you get the effect that you're probably looking for of having a Ezio statue displayed in your own personal collection? Going back to a point that I had mentioned before about having shadow painted onto his face, really, again, don't feel it's necessary at all. When you've got that light hitting it at the right angle, literally just right above the statue, not only do you see the shadows forming onto Ezio's body naturally, but you're also seeing, again, that crystallization of the Animus, and it does look really good, with very little light happening and only one light shining down above it. The last thing that Pure Arts includes with their release of Animus Ezio is they give you a little card. It sort of has a translucency to it, so I suppose you probably could shine a light source straight through it. This is actually a picture of the statue. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's literally just a picture of that statue done in a gray scale. Animus Ezio is up at the top there, and down below you've also got yourself an authentication number telling you what number this statue is out of the release, the very limited release of 2,500. To come included with that, you also get yourself an acrylic stand, a little acrylic base, just with a single simple slot located along the top section right there. This just slides into place, and you can display this alongside the statue wherever you decide to display this for yourself. Pure Arts has the Assassin's Creed Animus Ezio 1/4 scale statue slated for release in October 2020. The price point on this particular statue is going to be $749 if you consider yourself a big fan of Assassin's Creed, would like to get the Animus Ezio statue as part of your own collection and have the available space to do it. You can click, like I said, the link down below in the video description will take you over to Pure Arts website, and you can order yours today. A big thank you again to the folks over at Pure Arts who supplied the sample of the Animus Ezio 1/4 scale statue that we had a look at in this review. If you guys are new to the channel and liking the content you're seeing, consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below, turning the bell notification on, and most definitely stay tuned. There's definitely going to be a lot of stuff coming your way. We're going to be having a look at statues, collectibles, and so much more. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do, and I'll see you next time.